Live from Detroit, Michigan, this is the Honestly Sis podcast, newsletter edition. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I am Honest Am, your host and your writer of the Honestly Sis newsletter. I hope that this podcast finds you in great spirits. I'm not going to waste any time. Let's go ahead and get into this week's letter. This week's newsletter is entitled Men Are Trash. Our quote comes from Jay-Z, Family Feud. Nobody wins when the family feuds. The men are trash movement bothers me. As a feminist, I should be joining the marches and making posters for the movement, but I'm not because I believe that men are a lot more complicated and sensitive than we give them credit to be. Let me explain how I got here. I am a listener and a lover of the wildly popular podcast, The Read. Every week, there is a letter about a guy with great penis that a girl doesn't want to let go. Crystal and Kid Fury will begin their rants on trash men and saving yourself from heartbreak. I would 9 times out of 10 agree with the advice, but as I laughed, I couldn't help but feel like a hypocrite. The truth is, I know a ton of good black men, the type who have been in a relationship for 5+ years with no real drama or outside babies. You know, the type of guys who hang out with their fathers on a regular basis, or the type of men that spend Saturday mornings on three-way calls with their mom and sisters. Clearly, these type of men aren't trash. They have the qualities that we should all look for in a man. But what if I told you those exact same men have attention issues and it plays out as them flirting with other women? See, men are extremely sensitive and human. They leave this vulnerable side for women they deem worthy, and they treat personal things as something a woman must earn. Which makes me think, why aren't we doing the same thing? Why are we dying to bring the guy we just met to our family reunion? We may have laughed at Tasha from Insecure, but some of us has been on date number one thinking about future kids. Could it be that women have unrealistic expectations that lead us to thinking that a man has trash behavior? When Jay-Z released 444, I was obsessed with everything about the album. He came out and said that he had been leading us astray. This album was the manifestation of his model. Hove did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. He told us he was trash and the steps he had to take to overcome it. He even brought in more men and with different points of views to show, hey, men are complicated as fuck and they don't know what they're doing when it comes to love any more than women. See, what I have come to realize is that traditionally, men aren't expected to figure out the love shit. They must get money, provide, be the protectors, and they can't cry or bitch about how hard it is. With something as rare as this album and the footnotes, you would think that there would be pieces celebrating vulnerability. You would think that we will all be talking about how some of the most powerful men in the industry discuss their shortcomings in love. Instead, it was the exact opposite. People were downing him for revealing his deepest secret. They even went as so far as to say that Beyonce wasn't a feminist and she was dumb for sticking around. Can we just stop and laugh at that for a minute? Has no one heard or ring the alarm? Beyonce put in years, shit, a decade with this man. She made it clear she wouldn't just walk away from something she built. Plus, they have a marriage, not some raggedy ass relationship. I'm ranting, but the point is, I found myself getting frustrated and disgusted by the public response. It made me realize that men are not trash. We just have a trash ass mentality when it comes to men and relationships. Movies has ruined us all. They have us thinking that relationships is just a matter of finding the right person who's attractive, who can make you laugh, possibly give you last checking orgasms, and then bam, we're all set. Life falls into place and cue the happily ever after music. But like Gerard Carmichael said, there's a reason why fairy tales don't have sequels. Except for now, Disney is obsessed. The truth is, no one wants to see what it takes to sustain that level of happiness. People see Michelle and Barack Obama and they laugh at their cute little story. Oh my gosh, they hole in the floorboard of the car. But no one thinks about the constant internal battles Michelle Obama probably had to endure in the in between phase. Sure, Barack was charming, he had swag too, but he wasn't on her level. She was placing her bets on his potential in her heart. I can just imagine the phone calls with her girlfriends back then. A hoe? His broke ass. Run, Shelly. If you haven't been in a serious relationship, let me be the first to tell you they are hard as fuck. It is no fairy tale, and there's damn sure isn't a rule book to getting it right. So instead of saying that men are trash, let's say that men are complicated, emotional human beings with penises. I can agree that men don't always get it right, but why not applaud a man when he reveals a weakness? How about showing some compassion and patience? Remember that even money and hashtag life goals, there are still real things to overcome in relationships. Money don't banish personal demons. There is so much division in the world. Why are we creating more in our homes, in our society, shit within our own damn culture? Can we not have a trash ass mentality, or do you still think that men are trash?
True Prince music.
All right. So that was this week's letter, which is all about me and our trash. A little fun little fact about this week letter. I actually got this when I was first beginning to write. One of my biggest dreams was to get published on xonicole.com because I really just loved Nicole Kane and her everything that she's been through. I looked at her like she was my big sister at one point in time. This article actually did get published on the website. And it is called, matter of fact, y'all, I cannot even remember. I think it was called Unrealistic Expectations. Hold on, I'm about to go to the actual website. This is actually a really good time to tell you to check out www.honestlysis.com. If you go on the Honest Am tab, if you scroll down to the bottom, it will link you to my Instagram page, but then it will also link you to other websites or podcasts that I have appeared on. At the very first one, it shows you the XO Nicole, which shows you all of my articles that I have written for this website, and which was actually about 4 or 5. I haven't realized how many I wrote. It was the first time that I got paid, and I'll tell you in the conclusion why I stopped kind of doing that. But this article is called "The Truth About Dating and Unrealistic Expectations." It was published on the website December 6th, 2017. So today's deep dive, it's not going to be super long, but today's deep dive is going to be all about Gerard Carmichael. As you know, I mentioned him in the letter, and then I've also recently this summer, was it this summer? Yeah, this summer, this spring, fall, summer, like Sheree over here. This summer I was watching Gerard Carmichael in real life. He had this reality show, and I tweeted the following on Twitter because his mama called him Twitter and I'm gonna call him Twitter, okay? If you want to follow me on Twitter, my stream name is at I am honest am. I'm gonna be honest, I don't promote by Twitter because it is my safe space. But if you want to come on over there and just see me talk shit, I will gladly welcome you. Anyway, so I wrote the following on Twitter on 5/23/24. I am watching the in real life episode with Gerard Carmichael. He's explaining why he's doing these specials, and he keeps saying, I'm trying to bring this to my family. Just because you're living an open and honest life doesn't mean that everyone has to automatically get in line with you. Your healing journey is for you. It would be amazing if we all healed at the same time, but that's not how life works. Gerard needs to understand that in order for him to truly live in his truth, he has to learn to accept that his parents is living in their version of their truth. We can get stuck in our healing journey trying to get our parents to see our ways. But all this public exposing and throwing cameras in their face is just going to drive a further wedge and keep him stuck. The key is acceptance, see the pattern, and then break it. And so, if you haven't watched this show, Gerard Carmichael reality show is just all about him like exposing himself and his family. In his last comedy special, I think it was called Rathaniel or something like that. he came out as gay. And he just talked about like how his mom and his parents was just really, really struggling with it. He also exposed his parents and, his dad cheated on his mom and just it's just like watching that show, and it's so funny because he was really aggravating me. Charlemagne gave him Donkey of the Day, and like I was like really like triggered by him, and I didn't get it, and I was just like, oh my god, he's so annoying. Like, why is he acting like this? He really does have like this mentality, this like kind of savior mentality, and he thinks that he's the smartest man in the room. And so I go and Google, to see like what is Gerard Carmichael's zodiac sign, and he's an Aries, which I am also an Aries. So that just made me like, is this me? Like, am I so triggered? Because I am like Gerard Carmichael. And honestly, I was like when I started, honestly, sis, like we haven't got to those letters, but there are some letters where I was literally I said that I was being honest and vulnerable, but really it was a cry for help. And this is why I'm really happy that honestly, sis, now is kind of I have some distance between my writing. So even now, like if you see up here, I have all of this little board right here. Well, if you're watching this visually, make this may be a good time to go check me out on YouTube. But I have a board right here, and this is like all of the newsletters that I have to type up and write for Honestly. So I like it this way because there's some distance between me and when I'm writing. Before, when I first started Honestly Sis, like I was just writing whatever I was experiencing. And when I think about it, it's just like so cringy because it does feel like, well, I'm being honest and I'm being vulnerable. But if you haven't healed that wound, it's literally like you are like slicing your wrist in front of people and being like, look at me, I'm being honest, I'm being vulnerable, but really you're crying out for help. And that's what this whole episode is. Like Gerard kept talking about how I'm doing this for my family and I'm trying to bring this healing to my family. And it's like, I get it. Like, yes, it would be great if we could get our parents to heal at the same time as us, but that is not the purpose of the healing journey. And I had to learn that the hard way. I got an inner child therapy a couple of years ago. And I'm gonna be honest, like this is why I tell you do not rush your healing journey and allow it to happen naturally because I got that inner child therapy and I was not ready for it. I thought I was ready for it. I was not ready for it. It literally showed like all of the patterns. And mind you, I was just talking to the lady, da 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 da, tell her my life story, and then 2 days later, she gave me this like printout of like all these patterns that I'm going through and all these things that I've got from my parents. And to be honest, it made me mad. It made me really distrust my parents and I was angry with them and I wanted them to apologize for everything they have done and I wanted them to change and realize that they could be better and all these other things. And guess what? It didn't happen. I just kept driving a further and further wedge between my parents because the thing is we are the ones that are going through the healing journey. We are the ones that are getting this information. We are the ones that are in these trenches. Your parents are just your parents. And they've probably been this way for a very, very long time. And so I had to just come to realize that my parents was not going to change. My parents was not going to magically overnight realize all the ways they did me wrong. My parents are not going to, listen to my newsletter or listen to my podcast and all of a sudden have a revelation that let me apologize to Amber. Let me do things better. Like my parents are my parents. And I've come to realize that through that exact same inner child therapy, that they didn't have parents that were, there and readily able to listen to their emotions and their needs. So how could they do the same for me? And so I had to accept that, my parents did the best that they could do at that time. And it sounds like you're giving them a pass and it's like you're trying to, make it not seem that bad. But it's like, what is the alternative? The alternative is like keeping this anger towards your parents for their whole life because they won't change because you decided to change. It sounds crazy. It's like you're holding your own healing process hostage. And so I've had to come to realize that I can't change my parents. I can't make them be aware of everything that, I've experienced. All I can do is do these honestly sis letters, keep writing, keep going after my path. And hopefully, later down the line, maybe they may have an aha moment. Maybe they may really want to do better. But I have learned that I can't hold myself up. I can't hold healing up because my parents are not changing. Like, that's not fair. And also, for anybody that may be listening to this, I want you to realize that if our life was determined the moment that we were born for the parents that we had, then what would be the point of even having a healing journey? I literally stopped listening to a healer because she said that, oh, the reason why your life is so messed up is because you won't heal, you won't forgive your mom, or something like until you repair your relationship with your mom, you're never going to be healed. And I just refuse to believe that. Like, yes, I do believe you need to acknowledge whatever shit you have going on with your parents, but you're your own person. Your parents do not define how far you go in life. That's why you are your own individual person. But we do have to realize that some of the patterns, some of the habits that we get are from our parents, and some of it is not for us to take on and to like carry as our cross. That's why it's so important to not define yourself based on the trauma that happened in your life. And so just gonna leave it there. I don't want to go get too super deep, but I just want us to realize, like, I know this letter was just all about, understanding that men are sensitive and that men also, are complicated human beings. But overall, life is complicated. Humans are complicated and we all have our struggles. And if you find yourself, you know, being healed up and held hostage in your healing journey because you can't get over something that a parent did, I'm going to invite you to write a letter to your parent. Write it, allow yourself to feel all of those feelings, put it up. And then, a matter of fact, you don't even, if you're not ready to give that to your parent yet, because you don't have to. I mean, I have written plenty of letters to my parents. I can't say that they helped. But instead of giving that letter to your parents, I want you to, maybe sit it on your dresser, think about it, go back, read it over. And then once you're ready to really release the situation, I want you to go set it on fire and then throw it in the trash, throw it in the flush it down the toilet. You're going to write the letter, feel all those feelings, get it out, tell your parents exactly what you want to hear, you need them to hear. You want for them to know about you. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. In my letter, I told my dad, like, I feel like I don't know you. I feel like you don't know me. Like, I want you to know me. I wrote everything, all my hopes, all my wishes, all of everything, everything that I wanted him to know about me. I put it in that letter. I actually put it up for a while. I ran across it. And even though I didn't remember, I mean, I didn't feel exactly that same way about the letter anymore. I just burnt it. I put it in the toilet. And the reason why it's important for you to flush it down the toilet is because you want to use all the elements. So by you thinking it and writing it down, that's air. Putting it on paper, that's earth. Lighting it on fire, that's fire. Putting it in the toilet, that is water. That's all the four elements. That way you can completely, convene with the divine, and then you just let it go. And the whole purpose of that is that 9 times out of 10, some way your spirit team, whatever, if your parents is open to it, and my dad is, they'll get it. They'll get the message. And after I burnt the letter, a couple of days later, maybe a week or so later, my dad reached out to me, and it was not a big, oh, I feel so guilty. It was just like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I love you. I don't know, like, how much longer we're going to be around, but I just really want you to know I love you. And I think for me, I just recognize like that's going to be as good as it's going to get. Like I'm not going to get what I want from him, but that at least I know that he somehow got that message of how I felt about him, how I feel about the status of our relationship, and how I wish it would get better. It hasn't gotten better, but it's because I have accepted that my father is who he is, and I have accepted that I am who I am, and that I'm going to get the love that I need regardless. If it's not from him, it's going to come from somewhere else. Like, I also truly believe that the universe don't take anything from you that they're not willing to give back to you. And so I'm releasing that desire that my parents would like magically, get their shit together. And I'm just accepting that they are who they are, and that I am going to get what I need regardless of them being who they need to be. I hope that makes sense. All right, I'm going to leave it there. That is the deep dive for this. Forgive your parents and don't let your pain and the trauma from your childhood hold you hostage from your All right. So we are at the end of this episode. I am so happy. I'm so happy that you are back for another week. Again, like I told you, this episode was it was actually a big milestone for me. It was the first time that I ever got paid for my writing. And what I realized, excuse me, what I realized is that um I don't know. I guess because it's like I'm a writer. And so I will read an article and then I will go look and see who wrote that article. And I may go find that person on Twitter and start following them. I just really thought like writing for XO Nicole would be a really good way for me to like build up my writing profile. People on social media would start contacting me, like start following me. I thought that that was going to happen. And what ended up happening is that people would just read the article and it would just start like Facebook debates. Like in the comments, like people are arguing, oh no, me and our trash, or oh yes, me and our trash. And I just didn't like how it felt. And so that's why I stopped trying to do the freelance stuff and just start worrying about building Honestly Sis and creating this safe space because I didn't want to just contribute to like the garbage of the universe. I mean, of the internet. Like I didn't want to make a newsletter just to have people arguing about it online. But also now that I think about it, like they're engaging. Whether they're engaged, they may not know that they're engaging with my work, but they are engaging with my work. So maybe I won't totally give up on freelancing, but that's why I stopped. So yeah, I think it also goes back to what I was saying or on our newsletter about the quarter life crisis. Like the easiest thing to figure out what you do want to do is to figure out what you don't want to do. And so I thought that I wanted to be this freelance writer. I realized one, they don't get paid a lot of money. And two, like I didn't really like how it felt, how the interaction felt. I didn't feel like I was building community. I felt like I was just building more chaos in the world. But I did go to this conference in New York earlier this year, and this girl was just like, "You should be writing for major publications." And I may circle back around on that. I just think it's hard to write. I don't think it's hard. I think like the idea of pitching and all of that stuff, it just feels draining to me. But who knows? Maybe I may start doing it. My dream is to have my own column at somebody magazine or newsletter. Like that's really where I want to go versus just pitching articles. Like I would really like to have my own column about spiritual advice, love, and dating. So if you know somebody or if you think, hey, I would give that to her, check me out. Reach out to me at honestlysis@gmail.com or check me out at www.honestlysis.com. All right, y'all. That is it for this week. Until we meet again, dream those dreams. Never let the internet rush you and never ever let someone tell you what you cannot do. Do you believe that men are trash, or do you think they are sensitive human beings with penises? Comment down below. Beautiful theme music comes from Drew Prince. This episode is written, produced by moi. Remember, Honestly Sis is an independently owned and operated company. So if you'd like to donate or become a subscriber, please check us out at www.honestlysis.com. Remember, a new season will be starting this October, so make sure you get on that mailing list. Talk to you soon. Until we meet again, be safe out there and love on someone.